I decided that I wanted to come in swimming. Yeah, it was a flood, and there was no way that I could get to the house. So my grandmother, I hear stories that my grandmother said when the doctor finally got there, "You needn't worry, I've taken care of it." Yeah, it was right off of the river. We had to cross the river, footbridge, in order to get to my grandparents' house, or take a long distance around through the mountain. There was a road through the mountain also. So I'm a mountain girl. Although we did move to Orange when I was 7 years old. So I actually started, well, no, not started school. I was in the first grade, but in Rappahannock County we had what we call preschool, and I had a year there, and then in the first grade, half of a year in the first grade in Rappahannock County.
Was your father, was he a farmer?
He was.
And what did you all raise?
Cattle, beef cattle.
Did you have?
I'm an only child.
You're the only child.
But my parents always had some more children in our home because I brought them home with me from school. Yeah, if there was a child with one parent or a child real unhappy, I would say, "Come on and go home with me." And that's what we did. My mother would call the parents and get permission for them to spend the night or ever how many days or nights. And it was wonderful. My childhood was wonderful. Yeah, I have no problems. Getting along with people, that was one thing they really stressed upon me, was you be nice to people and they'll be nice to you.
Well, what's your favorite childhood memory?
I think the first time I rode a horse. Oh, it was so exciting. And the horse was a Palomino named Klondike. And after that, Klondike actually took care of me. I would go to the barn and get one of the men there on the farm to saddle up for me, and we would ride from dusk to dawn if we could. But we went all over the farm, and even back toward Route 20. This was Mayhurst Farm. My dad managed Mayhurst Farm, and I would ride through the fields, and that horse was so protective of me.
Did you ever fall off a Klondike?
No, never. Of course, he was so big that there's no way that, as a child I could even saddle him. But we were best friends. The hands there on the farm would saddle him for me, and but I could ride bareback. I had done it before by getting up to the fence and getting on him. So we had a really good relationship, the horse and I.
That's wonderful.
Yes, it is.
So you could come up to the fence and whistle and he'd come?
Mm-hmm. I didn't even have to whistle. Whenever he saw me, he would come.
Do you remember anything from World War II?
Not really. The only thing I remember was just praying that my dad would not have to go. That's about the only thing I can remember. And I mean, I remember the turmoil and the families who were affected by it, and the losses we had from the county. I can remember most of that, but it did not affect my family directly. I think it affected everybody, but not my family directly.
School, do you remember going to school?
Oh, yes. Yes, I graduated from Orange County High School. And
Did you go to Bellevue School?
yes, I started at Bellevue. It was the elementary and high school when I went to elementary school there. But I was one of the first classes of the new Orange County High School. I enjoyed school. I really enjoyed school. I enjoyed my teachers. And I have memories of teachers. And also in the last 2 years of high school, I also worked part-time.
Oh.
In a flower shop, of all places. It was West Charlton Flower Shop, owned by Philippa Wombersey.
So you worked part-time there after school?
Mm-hmm. And then for 2 years after graduation from high school, we met in school. He and, I'm not too proud of this, but he and one of my best friends were sweet on each other. But all of a sudden, the two of us were sweet on each other. And this was in early high school. So when I was allowed to date, which was 16, I was allowed to go out. He was my first and only boyfriend, real boyfriend.
What happened between you and your friend who was sweet on him before you?
She was okay with it, though.
Did you all stay friends?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're friends today. We were married at Orange Baptist Church in 1957. And it was a real special day. Real special.
Tell me about it.
Well,
What day was it first?
it was on a Sunday afternoon, but it was a comedy of errors. First of all, the one thing I remember was it's always been my dream to kneel for prayer, but the Baptist church didn't do that. It didn't have a kneeling bench or anything. So at the time I was working for a florist, and she said, "Don't worry, I'll fix it for you. I'll have a kneeling bench there for you." But she had a beautiful pillow on it, but she failed to attach it to the bench. And when we knelt for the prayer, the cushion slipped, and he cut his shin on the edge of the bench. He looked up at the minister and said, "Good God, that hurt like hell." You could hear him all over the church. And then the next thing was, and look, I tore my brand new breeches. And he had, and his knee was bleeding. So he had. But the whole church was in a roar, I'll tell you, in a roar. And then after we took our vows at the altar, and we were getting ready to leave, my dress had a hoop in it. So when we went around the first pew, I had a hard time getting around there because that hook didn't want to go with two of us together. So he went down several pews in front of me and said, "If you want to go with me, come on here." Just like that. So that was another thing, that made it fun and the memories. He was in almost 3 years. And part of that time, I had no idea where he was. He was on missions, and I was not allowed to know where he was.
And what happened during that time in the military? When he was in the service, what kind of call did you get?
Oh, I had a call that he had been killed in action. And I kept asking for the body. And they kept saying, it'll be shipped to you, it'll be shipped to you. And it was forever, it seemed like. It was a long time. And come to find out he had been on a mission, and they had to kill him off on record to keep him safe.
Wow.
So we went through that, and I know it was harder on him than me, but it was hard. You know, thinking he was deceased and wondering if he suffered, or, you know, all the things that would go through your mind. And then never being able to get the body back for a burial. And it was a hard time. But then he come to find out he was on a mission, and they had to kill him off on record to keep him safe. I was praying that he was all right, but I was praying also that there was not a mix-up in names or whatever, because I didn't want anybody else to go through that too. But come to find out it was for his protection.
Can you tell me the story about when you learned that he was alive and then how you all were reunited?
We cried. We could not hold each other enough.
But you were told before he came home, right?
Yes.
Like it wasn't just you were told by, who were you told by?
By a member of the military that he was alive. Oh, it was terrible. It was a terrible time.
But when you learned that he was alive, that must have been...
Oh, I dropped to my knees and thanked God for it. And just prayed that it didn't happen to another person.
And then you were reunited where?
He came home. He came home on leave, and I met him at the train station.
In Orange?
Mm-hmm. In Orange.
And that's the first time you'd seen him in 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, life has been ups and downs, but it's been all worth it. It was Citizens National Bank. But my husband was my competitor once he came from the military, and he was at National Bank, which is National Bank and Trust now. When I got sick with the lupus, I had to quit my job, even though we were competitors, because I worked one bank and he the other. But there was an agreement that we would never, ever discuss banking or customers, and we never did. That's how we got along. You know, life has been good to me, even with the disease I have and many hospitalizations. It's been good. It's an autoimmune disease that can cause many things, and I've had 2 brain surgeries from it, and I'm just so blessed to be where I am today, talking with you all and here at Dogwood.
When were you diagnosed with lupus?
It was in 97 for sure, but it was suspected even in the early 90s. But it just didn't show up. But I had many doctors to tell me that they thought that's what it was, particularly a Korean doctor from MCV. But, and I had to go to MCV for the brain surgeries. But they worked, they worked. So we miscarried several times and then decided that God had other plans for us. And we had children to come stay with us periodically when there was problems at home. And they would come live with us for a little while until things got straightened out. And then it was time for them to go back to their parents. And each child had a good home life then. And we were so proud of them. So proud of them. And they were all good kids. They just needed to be loved and told how special they were, because they had never heard it before. But we were, not even having children of our own, we were blessed with children. So blessed. And to be able to help a child was heartwarming. And we knew that that's what God had intended for us to do. We decided that we needed another animal after we lost our little dog. And we went to the breeder to look at schnauzers. Well, I fell in love with one. We had her about a year, and she slept on the bed with us. So she started going to his head every night and licking a certain place. And we found out before that he had cancer, but nobody knew where it was. And we happened to tell the doctor about that, and they did the biopsy, and there it was in the head. So she saved his life.
And what was the dog's name?
Molly. Oh. Misty Molly Woodward. Mm-hmm. She was a sweetheart. And actually, another time he had a skin cancer on his nose, and she did the same thing. She went right to that nose every time she could get to it, to lick it.
What was yours and Ed's favorite thing to do together?
I think it was just to go for a long ride in the country. We both enjoyed that. And we would take back roads, look at the architecture, even the fencing on different farms. It would be nice to see, and how people kept their properties.
What did you do for meals and things?
Oh, we ate out a lot, most of the time. We had breakfast at home, and we would go out for lunch and dinner most of the time. I cooked most of the time, but this was like for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, Yeah.
Did you have any favorite recipes that you made?
One of Ed's favorites was my sweet potato casserole. And it was so simple. So simple. Nothing fancy. But I think that was one of Ed's favorites. And rice pudding. He loved rice pudding. And it was, you give him that, he didn't need anything else. We loved being together at a time together, because he was in the military for a good while. And after that, I think it made us closer. And then after we both had medical problems, he had open heart surgery, and one of the first to have it actually. And it was successful. That was the wonderful thing about it. It was successful because his mother, brother, and sister all died with the same heart problem he had. And then I just lost him this year. And I miss him so today. I really do. We had a good marriage and loved each other unconditionally. And, but he also loved Orange. That's another thing. And he always said, well, Orange was so good to him, and he needed to pay back. And he promoted Orange. It brings tears to my eyes to think how good he was to me. You know, because we went through the open heart surgeries with him, and then the brain surgeries with me, and just came out loving each other, which is sometimes not the case. Yeah, we had our differences. We fussed at each other a little bit and disagreed often, but we came through it all. He was a man of the best measure that there could ever be.
What made you decide to come here?
Well, the doctor decided for me, and I've decided to stay. It was at a time when I needed to be here. And even now, you know, I think I could probably be okay on my own. But it's so comfortable being here, and it's such a good place. I mean, we have so many Ashleys, and this is the real special one that's sitting by you too. Mm-hmm. She really is. She keeps us going. She doesn't let us be idle very long to dwell on ourselves, but she keeps us going. Every nursing home needs an Ashley.